Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home of cycling Southland and a region rich in scenery and character. For the past 59 years, Invercargill has opened its doors to a small army of elite cycling teams who descend on the region for one of the biggest and toughest races on the New Zealand cycling calendar. Across 7 stages and 900 kilometres, the cyclists will face everything the roads, terrain and weather of Southland can throw at them. At the end of the week, the best will take home the titles and the jerseys money can't buy. This is the 2015 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The Tour set its sights on Te Anau on Wednesday. Riverton and the Southern Scenic Route turned on a picture postcard day, but the peloton had little time to take it in with attacks on from the start. A breakaway of 5 established within the first 10 kilometres, featuring New Zealand champion Joe Cooper, track team pursuit world champion Alex Frame, Logan Griffin, Mike Cumming and Matt Zenovich. The leaders pushed out to over 4 minutes as Cooper led them over the famed Blackmount hill climb, and it was there that the move from the peloton finally came. Tour leader Brad Evans, his nearest rival Robbie Hucker, Mike Vink and Tom Davison broke free on the descent and closed down the leaders as they reached Manapori. The leading 9 then drove the pace over the final 20 kilometres, with Davison leading out the sprint, only to be run down by Alex Frame over the final few metres. Evans safely rolled across the line at 2 seconds to maintain his overall lead ahead of today's defining stage to the top of Coronet Peak in Queenstown.
It's pretty tough. It's lived up to its all expectations. Tough weather, tough roads, but I've liked it.
I rode with Katsonis last year at Charter Mason and got in touch with my coach, and he mentioned Robbie wasn't doing much at this time of year, so we got them over, and I told them how tough it could be, and I think it's definitely lived up to that early on this year, and but you know, we got through those days and we're in a pretty good position to give it a bit of jandle, mate, and see what comes of it.
I don't mind it, having to race for the yellow. 17 seconds, it's not too much, and a tough climb up Coronet. I think I should be alright. I think I should have a good day today.
Now Joe Cooper, we saw him off the front yesterday and he picked up quite a few points, so it's going to be a big battle between the two of you.
Yeah, well, he was obviously super strong yesterday. I was trying to find the early move, and he ended up rocketing off up the road with a bunch of other guys, and I think he probably took nearly all the points out on the course, so it might be a bit of a fight for the next couple of days.
I think we might see a break potentially stay to the finish this year, because normally it's such a hard slog all the way up, but it also makes it easier for teams in yellow to defend as well, because normally it's, you know, a long old day, biggest stage of the tour, but either way it's still heavy roads all the way up, so everyone will still get to the bottom with tired legs. I think everyone gets on well and have a laugh and things like that, so yeah, I think it's about survival for us today, and pray for some wind tomorrow.
After a long day into Te Anau yesterday, the riders now have to prepare for the Queen stage into Coronet. A change in the route this year sees them starting from Mosburn, so a shorter stage which could open up things here for a lot of the riders to assist with the recovery from that big day yesterday. But of course the climb at the end of the day, 8 kilometres of switchbacks to the top. We have seen some of the major players come to the fore in previous years, and this year should see no difference in the proceedings.
The Queenstown stage provides the riders with some of the most picturesque terrain they'll ride over. The last climb up Coronet Peak is going to provide the pivotal points for the overall lead and can define and make or break your race depending on how you get up it.
Day 5 here of this SBS Banker Tour of Southland with a shortened stage this year, not starting in the traditional Te Anau but out of Mosburn for a field of 79 from the original 84 starters.
Can't say that being a shortened stage, Julian, is going to be any encouragement in the minds of a lot of the riders here today. This is day 5. It's an endurance contest. Stage racing is just as gruelling as it gets in sport, and there'll be some seriously tired legs here, but it never ever seems to diminish the enthusiasm they have at the start for trying to get away in those early breaks and get up the road.
It's arguably the most scenic of all the stages here in the tour this year, and of course going to be finishing up at the top of the Coronet Peak, the ski field, but it's a few hours yet before we see who's going to take the victory for that, and it's very tight at the top of the standings, Doug. Only 17 seconds separating the top two, with Brad Evans of Dunedin and Hucker of Australia.
Exciting race this year. This is one of the more closer races we've had for a long time, yet it seems to be that every day there's been a break, get out and take time gaps, which we've not yet seen in a lot of years in the SBS Tour of Southland. It's quite incredible really when you see groups go up the road by 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes and yet still manage to somehow get caught or very close to. It's very, very important though at the start of these races that if you've got a team strategy that you've worked out, that the riders stick to it, because if it gets a bit haphazard and the wrong rider gets in the break, it can really, really ruin any of the team's chances on that GC.
The familiar figure here of Matt Zenovich of Invercargill going off the front once again, and he's got the man, it's George Atkins by the looks of it, of Mike Greer Holmes, who's trying to get onto his wheel. He'll know this is the sort of guy he needs to tag onto because he's always sniffing out the victory.
Matt Zenovich's got a target on his back, the most combative rider jersey, the stuff.co.nz combative rider jersey, is seriously on the right shoulders here. I just love Matt Zenovich's style. He's riding the kind of race that we used to see from the likes of Gordon McCauley in the old days, off the front each day. I actually believe if Matt sticks at this long enough, he could potentially go quite a long way to trying to win this race in years to come. He's just got such an aggressive bike riding style, Julian, hasn't he?
He has indeed, but unfortunately this time round the field has dragged them back into it, so he's back into the fold as they approach one of the early hill climbs of the day. And it's Marcotte of America that's been placed onto the front. Taylor Gunman, a former stage winner in this particular stage, as they make their way up towards the Jollies Hill.
Quite a lot of lumps and bumps. This Jollies Hill can be quite a tough climb if the wind's blowing the wrong way, but you can see here the peloton's all together. King of the Mountains once again coming to the front of the race here. He's wanting to collect those ever so important points, and who's in behind him? Joe Cooper. He's also seeking that jersey and he looks really strong going over the climbs. It's going to be a fascinating stage to see whether the riders stay together to the base of the Coronet Peak and then duel it out for the stage win and the overall lead of the race, or there's some breaks go away. You can see here Joe Cooper, he's another rider. He's constantly on the look for a move. He's an opportunist kind of guy and he's won a lot of big bike races for that.
Yeah, Nick Miller suggested from the start of the day that there could be a tough battle between the two of them. With Cooper getting that win, that secures only a 1 point difference between the two of them, as we see the varying descending skills of these riders as they tuck on down one of the American riders, making their way down towards Athol. Attack once again going off the frontier out of the Athol region here, and it is Zenovich once again. He just hasn't had enough. He's loving being in that combative jersey here, and he's taken a couple of riders with him this time round, and it's a fellow local rider, Luke McPherson. Here comes the American champion descending very strongly indeed to make the connection with them. That would be Marcotte, and we look back to the reaction in the field, Doug, and they're sitting up.
This is quite an important split in the race here, Julian. Marcotte, as we've seen on day one down to Bluff, he was at the front. Obviously, we've talked about Matt Zenovich. Luke McPherson, one of the local lads, the Barry Stewart Builders squad. Great to see these local guys in their local race giving it heaps, going off the front and having a go. I really rate Luke McPherson. He's done a lot of hard work. He started the sport late, only started when I think he's about 28 years old. But this boy's got some talent. He's got some horsepower. He's the kind of guy you really want to have in a breakaway.
And joining the quartet is the Oliver's Real Food Racing once again. This time it is Nick Reddish, one of the under 23 riders, so that will send a ripple back in the peloton for the pink jersey as these four now set their straps forward here and they go to 1 minute and 10 second gap, so they start to make a bit of a serious move on this main field.
Some quite nice long straights too, Julian, just out of Athol. You can see here back in the peloton we've got Robert Huseman and the Powernet boys there controlling the front. Brad Evans having a bit of a yarn, just having a discussion about where things are at, how they're going to play it out. But Brad Evans is riding a very heady race too. He hasn't panicked, and this is the sort of thing that he would like. Get a breakaway up the road, control things in the peloton, wait for later on in the stage.
We saw a quick shot at the very front of the peloton from Coronet was Te Anau of Spain, one of the Spanish riders in this year's tour, one of 8 nations represented, as we make our way through the Devil's Staircase and descending down with the picturesque Lake Wakatipu. Fantastic scenery, an amazing part here of the Central Otago region.
For a lot of these riders, this will probably be the first time they've ever been into the Central Otago region. You can see here now we're coming up to the Halfway Bay climb. This is the start of that first climb after the Devil's Staircase. Luke McPherson here is just sitting on the back of Matthew Zinovich. These two will have done a fair bit of racing in the local stuff together, although Matt, I know, has had a big year overseas. This is the crest of the climb. There's a wee bit over the top, and Luke McPherson's having a crack for the points.
And there'll be a particular reason for that. McPherson, of course, is in the team with the King of the Mountain, so he'll be trying to steal some points back to protect his man that has the KOM hiding back in the peloton. As we see, Reddish has called it a day here. He's been away for a fair way into this stage, but has decided it's time to head back to that peloton. So these riders make their way down towards Frankton after going past the glacial lake of Lake Wakatipu, and we are down to 3 riders. Marcotte of America, McPherson and Zinovich. These two now, these 3 I should say, are really starting to seriously consider if they can hold off the peloton at 3:35. It's still very tight. The reins are being kept tight by that peloton controlling things.
You can see the summit of Coronet Peak ahead in the distance. That'll be something looming as a beacon for all of these riders. Some of them will be relishing it. Some of them will be quite nervous and anxious to see whether they've got the form to climb and complete this Coronet Peak and actually have an effect on their overall standings. So you can see the peloton's still quite well together. There's the time split coming in from the head commissaire on the motorbike, and the 3 out the front, they've still got a lot of work to do, and there's still quite a lot of lumps left before they even hit the Coronet Peak.
They make their way to some huge developments here, and of course Mitre 10 Mega here is also getting developed on our right hand side, and they are the fantastic sponsors of today's stage. But the riders having to deal with a lot of that roadworks as they make their way through, and we see back in the main peloton it is Coronet. No surprise there, they've been given the task of being on the front. But also interesting to note, Fraser Goff of Team Advanti, of course they are riders in that team that have actually taken the stage out before, so they're sniffing around for that victory as well.
The last right-hander before they start the climb of Coronet Peak. Tough climb, exceptionally tight at the start. There's a really, really steep gradient. They'll be searching for the low gears here, right at the start through this treed area. Nice and sheltered, but as this climb goes on, it settles off a bit. If you go too quick at the start of this climb, it can upset your rhythm. You can see Matt Zinovich out of the seat. He's getting stuck in. Sometimes you've got to meteor your efforts on this climb and pace yourself right from the get-go.
Yes, you're just a tad under 10% gradient for this first 2.5 kilometres of it, and later on she'll kick into over 10% gradient for this particular climb. As legendary local cyclist Colin Horton would say, you can't win a hill at the start, but you can certainly lose it as these men grind their way up. Look at the faces of McPherson. It's been a huge day out there for them, Doug, and there's fantastic conditions for them, but it looks like Zinovich has done his dash here for the day. 2 days out in front, and it's starting to hit the body.
The contrasting styles of these 2 lead riders. Luke McPherson's pushing quite a big gear, and the American rider Eric Marcotte well over it, spinning it. It doesn't matter how you get there, Julian, as long as you get to the top. The Mike Greer team are setting things up at the front of the peloton here.
Yes, they'll be trying to set up Michael Vink, but it's Liam Aitchison now makes a bit of a move. Let's not forget this young kid from Central Otago was 3rd on this particular stage last year. He was 3rd at Bluff Hill as well, so we know he's got some good climbing legs on him, as Cooper, the national champion, has a look, but he says, no thank you very much, I'm heading back with the yellow jersey here. Aitchison not looking over the shoulder. He's decided this is his time to try and cover a 40-second gap up to McPherson and co.
He will have ridden this climb dozens of times, Liam Aitchison. He knows exactly what's ahead of him, where the gradients are, what gear he's going to be in. This is a very confident ride coming here from Liam Aitchison in the Creation Signs L&M group. Hasn't, as you've said, hasn't looked around. He's over the gear. He's really riding like a man possessed up Coronet.
She's a long way to the top. To go so early, he's obviously feeling in some good form, as you see the contrasting styles there. McPherson with the head buried. Marcotte of America, he is absolutely dead and gone. He's heading back to the main peloton. McPherson won't give up the ghost. He'll try as hard as he possibly can. Of course, he has the teammate that is second overall in this tour, so he'll be trying to keep stretching things out, allowing his teammate to sit on the likes of Brad Evans there with that 17-second gap between the top two.
The march of Liam Aitchison continues. He's got Luke McPherson in his sights from the Barry Stewart Builders squad. Liam Aitchison really is riding a fantastic ride. We saw this last year from Mitchell Lovelock-Fay at the same time. Liam Aitchison's now got a couple of the other contenders starting to come up to him, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. I think Liam Aitchison set himself such a rhythm that he's just going to concentrate on his own ride, and you can see here coming up behind him is that Michael Vink.
It's Michael Vink once again, but three distinct different styles there. The man dancing on the pedals, Liam Aitchison, the former junior world representative and medalist, very good points race rider on the track, is making contact with McPherson. Vink is a man trying to gain back time. He gave away a lot on day one. He'll be kicking himself for that, but he's come back strong in the last couple of days there as he holds on to the wheel of Aitchison. They go straight past McPherson, who is desperate to hold on. He knows these are two men that could drag him to the top, but has he got the legs to do it after a huge over 130k out in front?
All credit to Luke McPherson. This is gutsy stuff. This guy's been out in the front of this race virtually from the first climb that we saw. Here he is getting caught at the front of the climb up the last of the hardest stage of the whole race really, and here he is fighting with everything he's got to stay off the leaders.
And there we see it as McPherson heads backwards. The mouth is wide open, gasping for air. It's been a valiant effort by the young man from Southland, but as we pan forward, we can see still Aitchison and co making their way to victory. As we look back to the yellow jersey here, Doug, he's just staying cool, calm and collected. He's surrounded by the team, of course, who hold the man in second place. They're going to mark each other all the way to the top.
Nick Cassonis from the Barry Stewart Builders team out of the seat, trying to soften things up for his teammate Robbie Hucker, who's got Brad Evans sitting in behind him. Brad Evans' role here is very defined. Stay with Robbie Hucker and don't let him out of your sight. But you can see here Nick Cassonis is seriously trying to upset that rhythm of Brad Evans. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen here.
Well, it's interesting to note who's actually gone onto his wheel as well. Well, of course, it is the defending champion, Mitchell Lovelock-Fay of the Avanti racing team. As we mentioned early on in the piece, they have taken the stage out before. So he's decided he's going to go with the Barry Stewart Builders. He'll know exactly what's going on, but they still have to shut down the gap on these two men here. And it is Vink who is seesawing off the back, on again, off the back again. And now he's made it back with Aitchison, who continues to pound onto the pedals, putting the pressure on Michael Vink.
This is a real duel, a real scrap. You can see Liam Aitchison has just tempoed his way all the way up here. Michael Vink, in hindsight, is seesawing, like you say, which is incredibly tough in a climbing situation. All you really want to do is have a good tempo. As Brad Evans is riding here, the tour leader, not getting carried away, not seesawing too far and up and down. He's stuck to the back of Robbie Hucker's back wheel here from the Barry Stewart team. That is his role, and you can see as things progress, some of these riders may come back to him with this seesawing effect that they're doing.
The cringes on the faces for a lot of these riders, the pressure going on as we look to the fantastic scenery here of the Wakatipu region. It is Aitchison who continues to pound on the pedals. He's in an outstanding piece of pedaling going on here as Vink gets distanced once again by the former Junior Worlds representative. He is trying desperately to take the stage victory here for the Creation Science LMM Group Orico team as we pan back now to the chasing group who at this moment in time are vying for third place.
Mitchell Lovelock-Fay has a look behind him to see whether or not any of these riders are going to respond. Once we start getting into the switchback area, you can see the signboard on the side of the road, Julian, with 1 kilometre to go. So these riders will be really digging deep now. This switchback section is actually very, very steep again, very similar to the start. And you can see it's Katsonis with the hammer down from the Barry Stewart Builders squad. Mitchell Lovelock-Fay from the Avanti team is doing everything he can to stay on that back wheel.
And Nick Austin there from Adair Craik Accounting just just feeling the pinch a wee bit as he gets squeezed out by these two men who are trying to chase those leaders, but there's quite a distance still. There's a good couple of 100 metres gap between the top two and the chasing couple as we see the man in the yellow jersey riding the intelligent race, just tempoing himself up the hill here. He doesn't have to put any pressure onto anyone. He doesn't need to take any pressure. He just needs to ride at a good solid tempo and keep a close eye on the man in second as we look to the face of Aitchison, who is trying desperately to take this victory.
The face says it all. Liam Aitchison is in a world of hurt here, but he knows he's only got about another 500 to 600 metres left of this climb. The last switchback, he's cutting in early to decrease the gradient with the chaser there of Michael Vink. Liam Aitchison, though, is really making a great job of this. He's still over the gear, but man, this boy really does know how to hurt himself.
Over 10% gradient here from the man from Central Otago as he tries to get himself the victory. Vink dancing on the pedals, but there's certainly not as quick revolution as the man out in front who is trying to make his way to the victory here to the top of the first ever commercial ski field here in New Zealand. Is he going to do it? It's looking pretty good, Doug, here, because I don't think Vink's got enough in the tank to try and shut it down.
Those surges that Liam Aitchison has put in have seriously taken its toll on Michael Vink. Liam Aitchison is going to ride here solo to a deserved stage victory on top of the Coronet Peak climb. What an incredible ride from this young man from Central Otago, Julian. Wins the stage on his own, Coronet Peak. Michael Vink coming up behind.
That's an outstanding ride there by the man Aitchison, who will take this victory. Kotonis will secure the third place and Vink, of course, into that second spot. That's the way they'll finish at the top of the hill, and we should see a real shake-up of the overall general classification. But the man in the yellow jersey, Brad Evans, still not too far off as we see to the picture here. Lovelock Fay securing fourth place. Haka, he'll gain a few seconds back, but it won't be enough to change the overall top 2-3 to placings. As we look at Aitchison's face, the effort says it all. So Brad Evans now shut down to some 14 seconds as we line up into the last 2 days of this tour, with Mike Northey still in third at 2:51. While the stage victor Liam Aitchison moves up into fifth place at 4:54. Joe Chapman has a quiet day on the bike but still remains well and truly in the green jersey for the Harcourt Sprint Ace. Nick Miller now squeezed down to 1 point difference between himself and national champion Joe Cooper in the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. Liam Aitchison also picks up the pink jersey for the under-23 Henderson Construction category. While Brent Allnut continues to stretch out his lead in the Stonewood Homes silver jersey by 18 minutes over Ackroyd and White. Luke McPherson is rewarded with the stuff.co.nz Most Combative Rider of the Day. And PowerNet continues with their dominance in the Wensley's team classification.
Team classification, PowerNet. Liam Aitchison.
I'd say it's definitely one of the top ones that I've had. Really happy with how it went today, and as I got further and further up, I felt better and better and kind of believed in myself more and more. So it sort of gave me that extra motivation to keep going and push on. I think we've got the green and the pink now, so we'll look to protect both of them tomorrow and Saturday, so should in for a good couple of days.
And now I know for certain that my legs are good and that I'm up there with the best. So there's still 2 stages to go, and particularly that stage to go where anything can happen. So I think the race is still wide open.
Follow the 2015 SBS Bank Tour of Southland all week with full results, news updates, photo galleries and video coverage every day at tourofsouthland.com.